Emergency live stream right here, Locked On Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller. And if you haven't seen today's episode of Locked On Senators, I'm wearing the exact same clothes because, well, we finished recording 2 hours ago. And since then, the news of the day, DJ Smith has been fired as Ottawa Senators head coach after 317 games, over 4 years behind the bench. Pilsy, your immediate reaction when you heard the news?
I can't believe this is real. Hopefully people in the chat have seen today's episode because that makes it so funny. I would say, Ross, and tell me if I'm wrong, the main point I was trying to say throughout that entire episode was, Sens fans, nothing's going to change. The management isn't going to fire anyone. No one's coming in. They're going to roll this out, and they've punted the season. They don't care what fans think. That's basically what I was telling Sens fans to get ready for. And then hours later, I've never been more happy to be so goddamn wrong. I was completely wrong. What they did is they had Alfie and Jacques Martin waiting in the wings, and now they're able to transition them. And Ross, I'll let you hop in here with this. I like the way they've set this up. I'm glad that Alfie is an assistant. Jacques Martin is the head coach. The irony that now he gets to take over the second longest coach in his team, and now he's going to keep padding his stats, Jacques Martin, for coaches game played here. But I think this is such a breath of fresh air, and this is what this team needed. And I think even Elliot Friedman was saying the ownership group doesn't want to rush into this. They're not going to do this just because the fans want it. At least now, Ross, we're seeing this ownership send a message to the fans and be like, nope, you guys were right. This is enough, and we have to make changes, and they did.
So let's recap the news, because we said DJ Smith fired. You mentioned Jacques Martin replaces him as an interim head coach.
Yes.
Not only has DJ Smith been let go, but so has Davis Payne, who ran the forwards. He ran the power play, and then they did that, what do we call it? Desperation move, where they then went and switched. So he's been running the PK. Jack Capuano, from what I understand, is remaining on the staff. Yep. He's on an expiring deal for the rest of the season. He's, got a lot more experience, let's say, than Davis Payne. So I don't know what the ins and outs of why they've decided to let go of Davis Payne, keep Jack Capuano. Maybe it's as simple as the fact that they wanted to bring in Alfie, and obviously Alfie's going to work with the forwards and run that side of the bench.
Yeah, it honestly could be, Ross. And just like you said, Jack Capuano, he's got a lot of experience. I do think you want to keep a little piece of that veteran experience there. Obviously, Jacques Martin, ton of experience as well, but he's just kind of coming into the situation. So I don't hate that. I'm glad they got, obviously we don't want anyone to lose their job, but I'm glad they did switch out one of the assistants and you get Alfie in the mix here, because I really think that what this team needed, and thank you very much, Sens Burner, is they needed someone that can revamp this defensive structure, Jacques Martin, and they needed someone that can add a breathe new life into the forwards and especially into the power play, Daniel Alfredsson. So I really think that this was the correct move to make. As you mentioned, important to note that both of these coaches, Jacques Martin, interim head coach, Daniel Alfredsson, interim assistant manager, I think that was the right play here because they're almost going to be reporting to Andlauer and Staios like, what do we have here? Who do we need to build around? Who needs to stay? And who do we need to clear out here to move things forward? And they got a lot of time left in this season to get good reports on every single player and person in this franchise.
Pamo mentioning, saying, you guys all convinced me last night, so he made it
There's
happen.
Pamo.
Pamo Staios on the line here. Now let's discuss briefly, because we're going to get into the tenure that was for DJ Smith. I want people to let us know one sentence that kind of sum that all up. We tweeted that out at Send Central. Lots of great replies coming in there as well. And I mean, we got to start. The Locked On Senators podcast did episode 940 today.
Yes, sir.
And DJ Smith has been the only head coach that has ever been behind the bench while we've been on Locked On Senators. We started November of 2019. He started May of 2019. That in itself is unbelievable to think about. But what did you think of the timing of it? This was what was peculiar for me, that they let him run practice today, let him speak to the media afterwards, and then fired him. That's where I just don't understand the timing of it, when it could have been done either after last night's game or when they woke up at the hotel this morning.
Yeah, it's weird. That's for sure, Ross. I think it's kind of like there's never a good time to break up with your partner, right? And if you sit there and wait for a good time, it's going to take forever to happen. Sometimes you just got to do it. And I don't know, Ross, maybe, and I kind of joked with you before we started going live here, that maybe Andlauer and Staios looked at this team, how bad it's going, and then you see the quotes after, hey, we're just trying to have fun out there. And they're like, no, the trying to have fun and being the fun uncle, that can't happen anymore. And again, I get what DJ Smith's doing. He's like, well, we got to try something else. Let's try to loosen things up here. And also, terrible classic TSN 1200 typo. They put DJ Smith saying we're trying to lose things up here.
Oh my God, I didn't see that.
Time, and then they did the asterisk loosen, but lose things up is, yeah, that about defines it.
There's the sentence that everybody's kind of looking for of how to sum up this last era of Ottawa Senators.
Losing things up. Ross, my mind's going at 1,000,000 miles a minute. You're the bus driver. If I get off topic here or take the exit ramp too quickly, but I do want to say one thing.
I was a very bad SUV driver when I heard the news, though. I was ripping through the streets of South Winnipeg and trying to get home here to hop on, because we got almost 570 people here in the chat who are giving their thoughts, and we appreciate everyone. Love how everyone's interacting with each other, too. Just shows how tight-knit this whole community. Steve G, we love you, brother. We really do. Steve, I'm using half of that, by the way, to use my Chio donation. We had a little bet going on, Steve and I, about the Senators coming back to lose, if that's even the way to say it, in the game against Dallas. But
Kevin, the cat's going hungry, unfortunately.
Yes.
But what I want to get to is, look, and this kind of works into your question that you've posed, one sentence about DJ Smith. I don't want this to be a total dancing on the grave episode, because DJ Smith was brought in initially to get this team through the rebuild. And I feel very confident in saying DJ Smith was the right guy to get them through the rebuild. And people in the chat, if you'd like, you can tell me if I'm way off base with that, but I've believed that all along. I feel like that's generally been the consensus here. But the thing is, the rebuild was supposed to be over. The tanking is over. They're trading away first round picks to acquire players. Like, that was over. So I think my one sentence, Ross, to pass this along back to you is DJ Smith, in one sentence, the right man for the rebuild, stayed too long. Like, I think that's fair. Like, I think even maybe he would tell you that he wasn't equipped to move this team out of the rebuild. Now, I've said all along, he deserved a chance to try to keep these guys going as long as he still had the room. He was given that chance. And I fully believe that Andlauer and Staios planned on keeping Dorion and Staios, the two-headed monster like we heard about, and planned on keeping DJ Smith and the rest of the coaching staff for the rest of the year. But they were forced to change their plan. Absolutely. And kudos to them. They took a hard look in the mirror and said, we are going to change our plan here. We wanted to be patient, but we are no longer allowed that opportunity. We have to act now. And they did it.
They did it. And expectations. I wanted to get back to Steve. We appreciate you guys. There's an auction going on in the chat. And how about the 11-11? Love that. Make a wish. By the way, the Ottawa Senators, 2-0-0 with a 1,000%, 100% win percentage.
1,000%
with Daniel Alfredsson behind the bench in a suit, we'll say, because he did play 1,100 games as well. So Steve's saying his expectations are to tell the players where they stand. Bench them if they don't perform. Scratch them if it persists. Change goalies in a game when they're off. Call a timeout to calm things down. Look, Jacques Martin, he's 71 years old. I want to say he's one of the oldest coaches in the National Hockey League. No, scratch that. One of the most experienced coaches in the National Hockey League. I think Rick Bowness is probably the only other over 70 coach. I can't think of a whole host of others. We're going to get the stats on that for you as well. But no, you look at it just top to bottom and just away. And Alex, I'll get to that as well. But Alfie being behind the bench just brings this breath of fresh air. Like I felt like he was always underused, just putting it upstairs. Now, this is a big commitment from Daniel Alfredsson, by the way, who we know is going to be traveling, I'd imagine, to Phoenix for tomorrow's game. He was spotted on the ice training with Shane Pinto 2 days ago in Ottawa. So he was not supposed to be a part of the traveling party. No. He was going to be a part of this team in Ottawa. So that to me shows that Alfie is very much saying, hey, we needed to make a change enough that he's going to give up some of his time and some of his flexibility as a retired millionaire to come here and help this team get back on track. So I love seeing that. Alex says, are the Sens playoff hopes back on the menu? I mean, if they start the way that Minnesota,
easy Ross.
I'm not saying the P word.
Okay.
Relax. There's a different, we literally thumbnailed today, rock bottom, ? So at least now we're going into the depths where there's some oxygen, where we're not like, trying to breathe and trying to live. We don't have cement blocks in our boots anymore. Now we're trying to elevate the ship until we can get it back. So we're scooping water out with buckets. But right now we're fully submerged underwater, and we're hoping that old Jacques Martin, what's old is new again, can come back and help the Ottawa Senators.
Ross, I'm so excited to win a hockey game. We're going to get the new coach bump in Arizona. That's going to be so awesome.
How many units on the Sens tomorrow night?
Responsibly, all in.
All in.
No, I'm not even kidding. Responsibly, I'm going all in, and I'm so excited for that. Ross, you make a really good point about Alfie.
Our guy, Michael Madden. Michael Madden, he's in here in the postcast. He's in here midday. He's in Australia, mate. I don't even know what time it is there, but Madden's locked in.
Yeah, appreciate it, Matt. Michael, sorry, Madden.
And Madden was, he was asking what kind of Sens jersey he would get. Why don't you just get the Jacques Martin hairdo and then just call it a day? Because now, I mean, we might be onto something here.
Or a retro Alfie. That'd be sick as well. I'm not ready to say the P word, Ross. We just talked about this episode. What we're not going to do is next off season hype this team up. So if hours later we overhype this team, I mean, both of us are just absolute jokes. I mean, we kind of are anyways. The clown makeup I took a shower and the clown makeup hasn't quite washed off yet.
I've got my Alfie goggles on though. If Alfie's behind the bench, we're winning the cup. It's that easy.
Jacques Martin, it's great. It's absolutely great.
I'm going to say the P word because I can in this context with Jacques Martin. Okay, Jacques Martin is diving into something that might be historic because you might recall Jacques Martin took over this team. They weren't very good. Actually, no, dang it. Okay, the year he took over midseason, they didn't make the playoffs. Any full season with Jacques Martin behind the bench, the Ottawa Senators make playoffs. So,
Ross, it's not going to be a full.
I know.
Damn it.
I know.
I like what you were trying to do there.
But these live streams, they're all about vibes and they're about emotion. They're not always about statistics. So as I started saying it, because my brain was saying, wow, this is cool. He's always made the playoffs. I pulled up his hockey reference page and he went not that respectable. The team stunk though. 31-36. And get this, 15 ties in his first. That was his first. Wait, they made the playoffs with that? That was his first full season. They made the playoffs with 31 wins in 82 games in 1997.
What a world.
That's
Well, you
wild.
said 15 ties, though. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. When he took over in 38 games back in 1995-96, where were you when? They went 10-24-4. So, yeah, that's a DJ Smith type record right there.
Yeah, I mean, Ross, don't let facts get in the way of a good story. That was a great story. I was right there along with you. But this, yeah, like people in the chat are saying, this is a Christmas miracle. Like, for this to happen now, Ross, we were so down in the dumps this morning. We were running out of ways to talk about how much this team sucked. Thank goodness we have this new breath of fresh air into this organization. And it's so awesome, especially for us 90s kids, that it's Alfie and Jacques Martin coming back. Like, the nostalgia is coming back for a circle. Look, if you can't sell wins, you sell hope. If you can't sell hope, you sell the shit out of nostalgia. That is the recipe for success. Like, it goes in that order. I will eat up all the nostalgia that they're giving me here.
What do you think Jacques Martin is going to implement right away?
Honestly, Ross, I like our buddy Steve G mentioned, I wouldn't mind a quick benching a guy and being like, this is not a joke. The fun uncle is gone.
Fun uncle's gone. Mo, what kind of reaction do you want from the team? Like, are the Sens coming out tomorrow night and just playing the 1-3-1 trap? Are they going to muck it up in the corner? Are they playing the most like 90s Devils style hockey or 90s Senators style hockey?
Or Guy Boucher style hockey. I don't know so much about that, Ross, but we are going to see everybody on this team smarten up. We're not going to see them take risks. We're not going to see them make irresponsible plays or take bad penalties, because it's like I mentioned about the other coach bumps, new coaches, and you get the new coach bump. What happens is all these guys say, especially guys that are underperforming or maybe not on the spot in the lineup or not getting the power play time they feel like they want, they're going to say, I got a clean slate here. I am going to play balls to the wall, game 7 type hockey, first game with our new coach, because the first impressions are so important. I mean, it's obviously a weird situation in St. Louis, but look at Jordan Kyrou. 2 games after Craig Berube is gone and new head coach, he has, I think, 4 points in those 2 games. He had a beautiful assist up against Ottawa in that first game. Like, he's figuring out ways to turn it around. And Jacques Martin is going to spark new life and new hope into these guys, and it's going to force them to look in the mirror and say, I've got a new chance to make a new impression on this coach and change my season around. We're going to see a lot of great individual efforts, I think.
My biggest question, I want the chat to react to this, is Steve, you are going crazy right now. Nobody's more excited than
Hell
Steve.
yeah, Steve.
We appreciate you.
Let's go.
I might just call work and be like, hey, I'm busy tonight. No, we got time. Steve, you are the best. And yes, you guys are unreal. The back and forth, absolutely appreciate.
We got 761 people in the chat here, Ross, at 2:50 on a Monday afternoon after a 4-game skid. This is what we needed. The misery loves company. Misery also loves the little wins, and we can get together and celebrate those. So I can't believe we're here talking about this now with everyone. This feels so damn good, Ross.
Well, it's worldwide, because we're getting some pounds, and we're always pounding the fist when we get a couple shekels in the old guitar case. But Pompey's Games Room, Sean Redding, who's a Sens Central citizen, gave us a great post-game reaction. He's donating some pounds to the mix. You got a trip to London planned? That was the worst accent ever. I'll stick with my Canadianas. I'm sure we've got some people from around the league who are tuning in saying, what the heck is going on in Ottawa? My question to you, Pilsy, and to the chat, you guys are crazy.
All right.
Pilsy.
Wow.
Pilsy.
Thank you, guys. Yes, I'm listening.
And I need Sens Burner and I need Steve G to get in the mix on this one. You guys are absolutely insane. Guess what? Or my question. It's a question. Which player is feeling the most pressure after this coaching change? Because, once the coach change, now it's up to the players. Now that the excuse is gone, which player is under the most pressure to perform?
Ross, just with Jacques Martin being the new guy, immediately my mind went to Drake Batherson, because I think Jacques Martin is going to look at Drake and say, he's got this is a guy you want to bank on this contract working out. If Drake can play at his potential, that's an amazing contract. But what do we keep talking about? The reason Drake Batherson was so good in his development was his two-way game. So if Jacques Martin can really work with Batherson and say, hey, look, we got to get you back to your two-way game, you can still put up points. You can still be a power play specialist, as I think Drake Batherson is. He's very good on the man advantage. But we can't have these lack of defensive efforts and giveaways and no strength in puck battles and along the boards. Like, we got to get you back to what you're used to, especially now that Drake has that frame that he can use to really be more physical and be a better defensive player. So and just off the initial reaction, Ross, that's where my mind went.
A lot of people saying Tim Stützle as well, because we have a lot of memories, us Sens fans who saw the early 2000s. The evolution of Jason Spezza was not linear. Mm-hmm. It was up and down. It was healthy scratching him. It was a matter of a man's game, and he was a boy. And even last week on TSN 1200, Jacques Martin went on and reminisced about Jason Spezza, saying, look, coming up as a youngster, he was always able to do whatever he wanted in any game. He was always the best player in any game he was a part of until you get to the NHL level.
Yep.
And then it's a matter
of exceptional status, Ross.
Yeah, and being the best player away from the puck. And how can you do that and help your team create offense by playing defensively? So to me, I think Tim Stützle might see the biggest change in his game, because there was a play last night. And look, the Sens have also been trailing a lot recently in games. And when the Senators find themselves trailing, the best players are always trying to put a little pressure, especially Timmy, to do a little more. And sometimes it's too much. When it's more, it's too much. But with Timmy last night, he tried to deke 1-on-4 entering the Vegas zone.
Yeah.
And you're like, it was giveaway, puck going the other way.
He does that a lot, too. He does it a lot.
He's going to be stapled to the bench if he does that under Jacques Martin.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if this was Timmy on a rebuilding team where he had no talent around him and he had to be that guy that did that, that's a different story. But I think Martin's going to sit him down and look at the film room and say, look, Timmy, you just blew by Claude Giroux, Brady Tkachuk. You didn't utilize, is that some more pounds in the system? Love it, love it. You didn't use Jake Sanderson, an elite skater. Like, you have so many options. Why do you feel the need to try to go through four guys? And then even if you get through those four guys, I'm not necessarily sure he has a plan after that. Like, what are you going to do now? Now that you're flying through the zone, trying to hold it. Like, I think Tim Stützle definitely is a guy that he's going to have to learn for his points, because Tim Stützle is more than a point per game player. Leads the team in points, for crying out loud. But for his points to actually matter and help convert these losses into wins, he's going to have to play better defensively. And I think he's capable of doing that. Timmy is a nice penalty killer. So if he can start making better decisions and not feel like he has to be the guy that does it all, we could see a big shift for him.
So I'm seeing a lot in the chat. Brian, appreciate you guys are way too good to us here on a Monday afternoon. Coaching change in Ottawa. And I think it's Monday, December 18th, but it may as well be next Monday, Christmas Day right now for Senators fans. And again, I don't like piling on to a guy who just lost his job, but I honestly think that a part of DJ Smith is kind of relieved. Relieved. He wasn't going to resign. Why would he give up 5 months of NHL head coaching pay? That would be absurd. This is just a lack of evolution in his coaching with the team that has to take another step. So Pilsy, I'm seeing a lot of guys in the chat. You know what? How about this? For my fourth option, I'll just put goalies. Is that okay? I've got Timmy. Yeah. I've got Drake. You mentioned Drake. I also have Brady Tkachuk. A lot of people are saying the captain needs to be more committed in the defensive side of the puck and not try to fight everybody when things aren't going his way. And then I'll just put the goalies.
Yeah, I thought about doing goalies, Ross, but I don't know how much Jacques Martin is a goalie-connected coach. Like some coaches like DJ Smith are like, I don't do anything with them. It's all in the goalie coach, so I wasn't sure about that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we have an immediate change or if there's going to be changes that we see over time. But I think, like I'm seeing a lot in the chat here as well, I think we're going to see, or at least I would hope to see, some major accountability and consequences happening here, whether it's benching for periods, sitting a game out, what have you, taking off the power play. I don't know. But I think we need to see these players understand that as much as they hate losing, they have to work through the pain, the growing pains of going from being comfortable with losing to wanting to win and hating to lose so much that it's going to take time, and they're going to have to learn how to change things. And I think Jacques Martin at least has enough time to do this. That's what I was worried about, Ross, is they're going to fire the coach in March when there's no time for him to make any difference. And now it's just riding the season out. So at least finally they've got it figured out after Edmonton did it, after Minnesota did it, after St. Louis did it. They looked at themselves and said, maybe it's time we do this. And at least they've done it with enough time to hopefully turn this thing around.
I love how worldwide this show is. We've got
It's
Jamie
incredible.
writing in, hi from the UK. He's pleased the front office made this decision. We've got Australia in the house. We've got UK in the house. We've got North America, of course, here after the Senators made a decision that,
World.
frankly, it took way too long, Pilsy, but it's one of those better late than never.
Yep.
And just further on your point, when they decided to move on from Guy Boucher, as first reported by @SenCentral on Twitter, that was far too late. It was far too late in the game. And what are you going to do at that point? And I think
Mark Crawford did nothing for the rest of the year. Like, it was a waste.
And also they were bringing a guy off. Like, he literally took 3 steps to his right and was the head coach, right? Yeah. At least now with Jacques Martin, this was a nice little insider tidbit from Mark Mathot with us. And by the way, I sent Meth the link to join. I just said, if you're on the beach right now, you better join. So I'm waiting to hear back from him, but I think it'd be fun. He's always here from Germany. I want everyone to let us know where you're watching this show from, because we're both just here every day, and we're very, this is exciting news.
This is such a mood changer, Ross. I didn't know what I was going to do with my day. I feel so much better now. Everybody in the chat, this is a good therapy session. We don't get to do that a lot. So
the timing that worked out, like if this happened next week, I would have been in Hawaii. And could you imagine? Like,
I would have been in the Dominican. Yeah.
Could you imagine the itch we would have had to speak on it?
Oh, we would have got out there. But I'm glad it's happening now, because now we can also see some shifts.
Games.
Yeah, exactly. We got Ross. We got games in hand, brother.
Oh,
we got games in hand.
How about the fact that Jacques Martin's first head coaching game back with the Ottawa Senators at home is against the team he won 2 Stanley Cups with, the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I like it.
I like it too. Yeah. I like it a lot.
And Jason Spezza up in the box too. Ironic.
Yeah, that's very ironic. Right? I wonder, what do you think Jason Spezza thinks of all this? That's kind of a
let's get him on the show. Jason Spezza, if you're listening,
open invite.
Yep.
Still haven't heard back from Pierre Dorion about his open invite back on the show. Sean saying, time to shed the loser mentality and bring in some fierce accountability. I think sometimes Jacques Martin was scorned for being holding people too accountable at times. So I think that hopefully you're not going from one extreme to the next, but I do think that there's something to be said.
Got to be in the middle somewhere.
It's got to be in the middle, but also I feel like people have eased with time, and like just a different era right now. Like Jacques Martin had like 2 or 3 heavies every team that he had. And we're going to have our best ofs coming out in about a week and a half. And one of the stories, and you guys can go listen to the interview too, Jamie Rivers joined us after Tarasenko signed with Ottawa. He's a St. Louis Blues defenseman, but he told a hilarious story about meeting Jacques Martin for the first time when he was when he came to Ottawa.
For sure. Yeah.
Hilarious. Hilarious stuff. So Jacques Martin, obviously a long history. He's the longest serving head coach in Ottawa Senators history, Pilsy. Like, we're not talking about just a guy who came and went. This isn't Craig Hartsburg or Corey Clouston coming back after their cups of coffee, John Paddock and his 64 games. No, this isn't Dave Allison either and his 2 wins in 25 games. This is Jacques Martin. His next game coached will be his 693rd with the Ottawa Senators. Frankly, there were 2 more in there, but the real ones will remember here that he let Roger Nielsen coach 2 games because he had a milestone to get to. Roger Nielsen was his assistant coach at the time.
That's awesome.
So they gave him 2 head coaching jobs. I think he got to 1,000, if I'm not mistaken, but Jacques Martin. So that means that right after New Year's or around New Year's, Jacques Martin will have coached his 700th game as a member of the Ottawa Senators. This is his 10th season. Now, if what's old is new again, really is that. So look, Jacques Martin, he's got the 3rd best points percentage rather in Senators history. And if you look at playoff games, he's coached more than double anybody else in franchise history. So the experience is obviously there. He went and he worked with Florida for a little bit as a GM and head coach. He got a job with Montreal for a little bit as the head coach. But since then, he's been an assistant coach, working his way around the league, getting to pick up tools. Like, how valuable is it for Jacques Martin to have worked with Sidney Crosby for 3 years and now being able to share those stories and how Sid prepares himself and be able to share that with the team today and the Josh Norrises of the world who are trying to be those two-way centers, and Tim Stützle as well. I just think overall this is, look, they're going to have a full search in the summer, but this to me is the best they could have done. I would have been so disappointed if it was Davis Payne or Jack Capuano.
Oh my God.
Like, you know what? That would have just been like change for the sake of change. This is real change. This is two people who weren't in the organization 3 months ago and 3 weeks ago for Jacques Martin.
Exactly. And Ross, that's the big part, is this is two people that this ownership group brought in. These are their guys, while also being the past era's guys, right? Like, they did a good job of feeding into that nostalgia and tapping into that experience and familiarity in Ottawa with Martin and Alfie, while also being like, this is also new because we brought these guys in on our own decisions and we believe in them and we have a path that we see with them. So that's awesome. And yeah, you mentioned Jacques Martin, experience working with Crosby and all those guys. In his press conference, he also talked about what he learned from coaches like Mike Sullivan. Like, he used a Mike Sullivan quote right away, what he learned from him. So I think that this amount of knowledge and experience, and if you're Jacques Martin, you got nothing to lose here. Like, this isn't like DJ Smith, like Meth talked about. You're first-time head coach. The last thing you're going to do is bench big player. Now your reputation's ruined. Jacques Martin, his reputation speaks for itself, right? So he has nothing holding him back, or he doesn't feel like he's on thin ice. He's an interim head coach. He could retire if he wants. There's no kind of pressure like that. So I think we're going to see some very interesting changes, and it's going to, like, I heard a quote, Elliot Friedman talked about a quote.
Hey, we aren't the only ones who had old takes exposed today. Only this morning, Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, the #1 hockey podcast in Canada, said they're trying to be patient. So this seems like
the same approach as I did. Yeah, exactly.
Steady Stevie Staios until he's not. So he put the hammer down there, Pills.
Ross, before I lose the quote, he said, Anthony Stewart has this quote, "Are you a team or are you a club?" And it felt like the Ottawa Senators were turning into a club.
Oh, but I thought before they were.
Yeah.
We're a team. We're a team. We're a team.
But
yes.
Like,
yes.
Like, it just seemed like they were happy to be here and happy to be a part of the team and be in the NHL. It didn't seem like, no, we're a team working towards the same goal and we will work tirelessly to get there. It just seemed like they're like, well, we're a part of this club. Like, we hang out here and we play games when we're scheduled. Like, this is going to change that mentality, I think.
Totally. And we have more to get to on DJ Smith's tenure as Senators head coach. Let's do a quick reset. I'm at the part of the chat. I'm trying to catch up here. I want to give some shout outs to where people are watching, I'll put the helmet on after, because Pillsy, we're going to get to a quick ad break too here. But so pull up what the bonus ads are here. I want to give some shout out. Can't Control Life's in Ottawa. We got Jeremy in Halifax. We got Winnipeg in the house. Regina, Victoria, New Brunswick, Montreal, another one in Victoria, Los Angeles, California. We've got Germany, Burlington, Victoria, Mississauga, Gatineau, Northern Ontario, Windsor, Belleville, Arizona. I almost said Brantstrom. Goober put his right in the middle of all the teams. We got New York City. We got the UK in the house. We've got all over the place. Michigan, St. Paul, Minnesota, Edmonton, Windsor, United Kingdom and Portsmouth. Like, this is awesome to see everybody getting in the mix. Southwestern Ontario, another one from Germany here as well. We got Orleans, we got Stockton, California. But it's just awesome. And Negative Capabilities, who's in the postcast last night as well. He's in the land of games in hand. Pillsy, the news of the day. DJ Smith has been fired as Ottawa Senators head coach. So too has Davis Payne. The replacements, you might have heard of them. Jacques Martin, interim head coach, and Daniel Alfredsson
Praise Alfie.
will be the interim assistant coach for this team. And another point of this I want to get to is that, heck yeah, Anthony, from Tucson, Arizona, where the Senators, same state as the Ottawa Senators, are in right now, where they'll take on the Coyotes at Mullet Arena tomorrow. But on that note, Pillsy, look, both Jacques Martin and Daniel Alfredsson, I assume, will be a part of this organization going forward, whether they're on the bench or not.
I assume as well. Yep.
So with that assumption, this is a tryout for all the players of how their daily habits are. Everything it is, they are getting a firsthand view of what they want and what they don't want in a team.
Agreed. Yeah. And that's the value of having these guys that you brought in. And I'm sure in the back of their minds, part of Ann Lauer and Staios were saying, yeah, we're bringing in Alfie and Martin just in case. But I truly don't think that their plan was to have all like Dorion, DJ Smith, and Davis Payne out before 2024. I truly believe that was never part of their plan. And I believe they worked hard in their minds to avoid that being the plan. But as famously, there was a material change and things changed. The ground shifted from under them. The boiling pot of fans begging for change has happened. And I honestly think there was a certain point where they're just like, this isn't fair to DJ Smith here. Like,
it wasn't. And I'm glad that it didn't go over and linger through the Christmas break.
Agreed.
Like, dude, he looked just so defeated.
Hopefully we see him in Hawaii or Dominican, Ross. Like that guy, we were looking for a reset. That's a guy that needs a reset. Get out of here. Don't think about hockey. Because I want to emphasize this as Ross gets the fire helmet on. DJ Smith, we had him on our show. Great guy. I think the players all liked him. I think he's respected around the league. Say what you want, but he shows up for the media events, whether you like his quotes or not. He's showing up. He's doing what he can. He tried different things, and he wasn't ready to take on this kind of job. I think that's fair to say. So I just want to say that we hope the best for DJ Smith. I don't think it was his fault things turned out like this, and hopefully he can find a landing spot. I'm sure he will, and we'll see him in the NHL again sometime soon.
A really great guy. I think that's kind of what has to start here. Definitely. He's been a guest on this show as well, and the numbers just don't add up. 131 wins in 317 games as head coach of the Ottawa Senators. Like it's not great. The Senators are 24th out of 32 teams in the National Hockey League in points percentage since he took over that team. Or are they 25? Because I think I was doing this in a bit of a rush. And so Ross, I had sorted by points. Obviously, points percentage. Seattle jumps above them because they've played so many less games. So 25th in the NHL in points percentage since taking over behind the Sens bench. And I get it. There's multiple eras of DJ Smith hockey.
Yeah, that's important to know.
Rebuild, right? So
I think really where you evaluate DJ Smith and decide if he should have got a longer leash or if he was the right guy was this season, the last season, because that's when management started trying to put pieces in and make a roster that wasn't just rebuilding. And the results are there. He wasn't able to do it. You can cite injuries. There was so many goddamn injuries last season. It was insane. But every team deals with injuries, and you find ways you have to try to find ways to work around it and still succeed and get more out of other guys and elevate players and so on and so forth. So it's just abundantly clear to everyone that this was past what DJ Smith was meant to do. He got the chance to move past it, and he wasn't able to do it. And that's not on him. It's his first time being an NHL head coach. It's difficult I feel like most times people are head coaches. They're there for a rebuild, or they're there for playoff pushes, or they're there for somewhere in the middle. You don't experience multiple eras like that. So it's tough, but I think this was the right move. And I think everyone involved is going to be better for it.
So they're finishing the year with this, though. Like, there's not going to be a head coach hiring during the season. Hopefully it's Jacques Martin getting this team back on track here. The Ottawa Senators have 2 games left on this road trip at Arizona, at Colorado, and then they come home. And someone in the chat, too, just had a great line. It's Alvey versus Carlson on Saturday night.
Yeah, nice. That's also a good one. Man, there's too many Sens pieces on that Penguins team. God,
I know.
Gross.
And
disgusting.
It all starts with hashtag Sens Abroad super fan Kyle Dubas, who will pick up any. Where's Colin White playing? Did he ever get signed?
I don't think so. Yeah, that's a good idea. Good question.
Definitely didn't think we'd be talking about Colin White on this live stream. That's more of a Pierre Dorion blunder. 3 goals, 4 points in 13 games with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton.
So he is there. Yeah, true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, no, awesome show here, guys. Do you have any final thoughts here? And anyone else in the chat, let us know here. It's obviously an emotional day for the Ottawa Senators, I'm sure, finding out that a coach who's been the sixth longest serving head coach in the National Hockey League up until his firing, his dismissal. Like, there's going to be some changes. I'm just curious how quickly we can expect them to come out. I'm going to actually pull up that NHL Network tweet right here. But Pillsy, give me some final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts for me is, I'll just say it quickly. DJ Smith was the rebuild guy. He wasn't shooting for the playoff guy. Next point, the Andlauer and Steos brain trust, they went against what they wanted to do and they made a decision, but they did it in a way that nods to the past and looks forward to the future with Jacques Martin and Daniel Alfredsson. And the third point is that, look, Michael Andlauer, he said in his opening press conference, he is going to be a guy that's an employee first. And although this was mostly about the arena, he said he's going to make decisions that are fan focused. I think he's showing that he does mean that. And he went against what he wanted to do. And he went with what the fans wanted and needed. And he's showing that he gets it. He gets the pain and the frustration that this fan base is going through. And now he's going to make moves to try to change that. I love Jacques Martin, interim head coach. Alfie, 2-0 on the bench. How could you argue with getting him back on the bench? So this is just such a great day. Like, I really thought, Ross, we were going to be down in the dumps and we had to slug through it. I mean, I made it very clear on today's episode hours ago. I'm feeling so refreshed, so rejuvenated, and I'm looking forward to watching Ottawa Senators hockey moving forward, because these are changes I believe can turn into, in time, the proper change and moves and growing pains that this team needs to go through.
So we should also note Steve Steos will be addressing the media via Zoom from the team's hotel. Timing will be communicated, so we'll let you know on Twitter at Sen Central. We'll tweet those out. Sean Redding saying the post game after Vegas was the lowest I've seen you guys since I started watching. This is such a high, and the vibes in this video really reflect the mood of the fan base. I still have my empty bottle of red next to me from last night.
Yeah.
Like, I basically feel like I'm Martian waking up in Vegas an hour before my flight. How about Martian being on the plane right now? This is vibes of you when Brady Tkachuk signed his contract. He's got no clue.
Or no, more like the Chikrin deal. I
Right.
was on a bird to Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, every time we got to go on more trips. Every time trips happen, news comes out right before or during.
I've been saying it, Ross. Yeah, we gotta travel and meet and shake the hands of every single person that was in this chat. So we're gonna do a world tour one day. Maybe Frankie McDonald can tell us about how to get a world tour together.
Friend of the show, Frankie McDonald. Hey, I'll finish off with this here, because this is the thing I pulled up courtesy of the NHL Network, and by courtesy I mean the mistake that they have under the St. Louis Blues name. That as well is courtesy of the NHL Network. Ottawa already played St. Louis. That's not their next game. So St. Louis, since the coaching change, 2-0. Minnesota, 7-2-0. And Edmonton, 10-5-0. So all of these together add up to a very good record. 19-7-0. Math guy.
Yeah, and Ross, 3-0 in their first game back.
Oh, yeah?
Like, first game with the new coach. All three of these teams. It's 3-0.
So you're saying the postcast can be fun tomorrow?
Yeah, and I'm going to FanDuel to responsibly go all in on the Sens.
Heck yeah. Steve's got the right idea. It's time to listen to you two. It's a beautiful day. The sky falls. You're not paying me to sing. I promise you that, Steve. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Mo, everybody in the chat. I want to give some shout outs here, actually.
Sens burner.
Steve, Sens burner. I mean, everybody who was nice enough to, give a couple shekels here on a Monday afternoon. We appreciate you. It's going to be hilarious when I tweet out today's episode on Twitter, because I like having just the continuity of it. And it's going to say rock bottom. And then I'm going to follow it up immediately with a link to the live stream. If you miss any of the live stream and you're out and about, I am going to post the audio of this as well. And the news of the day is DJ Smith has been fired after a long time on the job. May 15th, something around then, he was hired.
Yeah, I think so. There's that iconic picture of him smiling beside the Sens logo that I always think of.
Oh my goodness. Well, here we go. It's showtime.
It's a new era.
Senators.
It's a new age.
no excuses, right? Like we've been doing our best to shield the excuses already, but I also think that it's important to note that like this was the last move that can be made before the players have to really like do something.
That's the thing, Ross. Like the dominoes are now set up, and the players know all it takes is one push and things start falling here. So that's what we needed to see, is there needs to be some sort of fear or consequence of a losing record. It's a results orientated business, the NHL, and the results have not been there.
And we will see what Steve Staios, the interim GM, the Senators right now, an interim assistant coach, an interim head coach, and an interim GM. And 2 permanent podcast hosts. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Let's get some go sends going in the chat. We also want to give some stick taps to Mo, Unreal, Eric, Sends Burner, Joey, Danny, Patrick, Sean, Jamie, Travis, Brian. You guys are spoiling us, Sean as well. And our guy Jimmy Stew is back after his hiatus. Alex as well, Dave, Michael. Appreciate all you guys from wherever you tuned in to the Locked On Senators podcast. And tomorrow's a game day, and I promise you, we will be bringing the vibes here in the morning on Locked On Senators. Reminder, head over to @SenCentral on Twitter. We'll get some updates for you as Steve Staios will speak to the media later this afternoon. But for today, we say farewell. If you want more content, if you want to hear a little juxtaposition, go check out today's episode of Locked On Senators.
Hilarious.
It was
ironic.
It's going to be ironic. It's going to be hilarious here as we roll on into tomorrow's game day against the Arizona Coyotes. That's it for us. We're the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day.